The Stoic truth often wears a mask. The Stoic truth, that quiet force of clarity and honesty, often hides behind a mask. Ironically, it is sometimes those closest to us, our friends, family, or partners, who conceal it most effectively. We like to believe we're adept at spotting dishonesty from miles away, trusting our emotional intelligence as an impenetrable shield against deception. Yet, the truth remains obscure not because we lack the ability to see it, but because we choose not to look. I've been guilty of this myself, assuming I could read people effortlessly, only to later realize I had ignored glaring signs of deceit right in front of me. Subtle inconsistencies in behavior, exaggerated stories, or defensive reactions to the simplest questions were all there, but I convinced myself they didn't matter. Deception is far more common than we'd like to admit, and often, the very people we trust most are the ones concealing it. So how do we uncover the truth? How do we peel back the layers of falsehood to reveal what lies beneath? Let's explore 4 key signals that someone may not be honest, and discover how Stoic wisdom can guide us toward clarity. Signal 1. Contradictions in their story. The first sign of dishonesty is also the most obvious: contradictions. When someone tries to deceive, maintaining a coherent narrative becomes a monumental challenge. They can't keep track of every detail, and small inconsistencies begin to creep in. A spontaneous weekend getaway morphs into a meticulously planned vacation with additional participants. These shifts might seem trivial at first glance, but they are significant red flags. When you notice these contradictions, pause and reflect. Is this merely a slip of memory, or is it a deliberate attempt to obscure something? From a Stoic perspective, dishonesty demands constant mental gymnastics. Lying forces a person to construct and sustain an alternate reality, a task that is both mentally exhausting and morally compromising. Marcus Aurelius frequently spoke of the peace that comes from living authentically and how deceit burdens the soul with the need to uphold a facade. When you detect contradictions, recognize them for what they are: evidence that the person is struggling to control their lie. Observe with Stoic detachment. Why might they feel compelled to alter their story? Often, the truth is hidden not just from you, but from themselves as well. Signal 2. Lack of empathy. Another telltale sign of dishonesty is a lack of empathy. Empathy, the ability to connect deeply with others, is central to what it means to live harmoniously, a principle cherished by Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius. They believe that understanding and sharing the feelings of others is essential to leading a virtuous life. When someone is lying, their focus is usually on maintaining their fabricated narrative, leaving little room for genuine emotional connection. This can manifest in conversations where their responses feel cold or out of sync. For instance, if someone shares bad news, such as a personal loss, and the response lacks warmth or sincerity, it might not simply be emotional detachment. It could indicate that the person is too preoccupied with hiding the truth. Stoicism teaches us that honesty and empathy are inseparable. If someone's emotional response seems disconnected from the reality of the situation, it's a cue to pay closer attention. Is this an isolated misstep, or does it point to something deeper? Approach the situation with clarity, recognizing that this absence of empathy may signal a broader pattern of deceit. Signal 3. Blame shifting and avoiding responsibility. The third hallmark of dishonesty is a refusal to take responsibility. When caught in a mistake, does the person own up to it, or do they immediately deflect blame onto others? Someone who cannot acknowledge their actions isn't just avoiding the truth. They're rejecting one of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy: personal accountability. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius taught that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we always have power over our responses. When someone refuses to accept responsibility, they reveal that their priority is protecting their image rather than speaking the truth. Perhaps it's a colleague who missed a deadline and then blamed the entire team or faulty equipment, instead of acknowledging their role in the failure. Such behavior erodes trust over time, leaving frustration in its wake, especially when it becomes a recurring pattern. A Stoic approach would encourage taking ownership of mistakes, learning from them, and using them as opportunities for growth. People who avoid responsibility aren't just deceiving others, they're deceiving themselves, denying the chance to improve and evolve. By recognizing these signs and applying Stoic principles, we can navigate the fog of deception with greater clarity and integrity. When you encounter someone who shifts blame, it's often a sign that they're concealing something far greater than what appears on the surface. Sign 4. Excessive defensiveness. Have you ever noticed how some people react with an extreme defensive stance, even when the situation doesn't call for it? This overreaction can be another red flag that someone is hiding the truth. Instead of calmly addressing a straightforward issue, they become abrupt, dismiss criticisms outright, or go on the offensive, often attacking others as a way to deflect attention. From a Stoic perspective, this kind of defensiveness points to internal conflict. The Stoics believe that true peace comes from accepting reality as it is, no matter how uncomfortable. When someone becomes overly defensive, it often signals that they're protecting a lie or maintaining a false image. If a person cannot engage in a calm and rational conversation without becoming defensive, it suggests they are not at peace with themselves. The Stoic response here is one of understanding, not emotional reaction. Rather than being drawn into their drama, we observe clearly. People who are excessively defensive are usually shielding themselves from an uncomfortable truth they aren't ready to confront. Stoic wisdom reminds us that peace arises from embracing the truth, not avoiding it. By adopting a Stoic mindset, we can navigate the murky waters of dishonesty and deception with clarity. The Stoics teach us to observe without getting swept up in theatrics, to recognize contradictions, lack of empathy, blame shifting, and defensiveness for what they truly are, signs that something deeper is at play. It's not about becoming cynical or distrustful, but about cultivating the ability to see the truth, even when it's hidden in plain sight. Stay steadfast, remain an observer, and remember, the truth, no matter how cleverly disguised, is always within reach of those willing to look for it. Have you ever noticed someone's reaction to even the simplest question, a near instantaneous defensive posture, as if bracing for an attack? It's as though they're jumping at shadows, assuming they're under threat when, in reality, no accusation has been made. This instinctive defensiveness is a clear warning sign that something more profound is at work beneath the surface. It's not just an innocent reaction. It often indicates that they're hiding something, whether because they've done wrong or trying to conceal the truth. At the heart of excessive defensiveness lies fear. Fear of being discovered, fear of judgment, or fear of losing control of a situation. When someone becomes defensive, especially in the context of lying, it's a protective mechanism designed to shield them from the consequences of their actions. Let's break this down further. Imagine asking someone a simple question like, "Did you finish that report?" Instead of a straightforward answer, they launch into an elaborate tirade about how overwhelmed they've been, how no one understands their stress, or how unfair it is for you to even ask. The intensity of their reaction is wildly disproportionate to the simplicity of your question. That should give you pause. Someone telling the truth wouldn't need to build such an intricate defense. They could respond calmly and confidently. A liar, however, feels compelled to erect an emotional shield, creating barriers to deflect any scrutiny. This is a classic hallmark of dishonesty. From a Stoic viewpoint, this behavior is deeply troubling. Stoicism teaches us to maintain calmness and composure in the face of challenges. It's about accepting responsibility without flinching or shifting blame. When someone becomes overly defensive, it suggests they are not at peace with the truth and are avoiding its potential consequences. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often spoke of the importance of self-awareness and inner tranquility. A person secure in their integrity has no need to be defensive. They have nothing to hide. Overly defensive individuals, on the other hand, are like fortresses, constantly preparing for battle, perpetually on edge, ready to defend their image or reputation against any perceived threat. Beneath this armor often lie feelings of guilt, insecurity, or a hidden lie waiting to unravel. The more someone defends themselves with fervor, the more likely it is they're concealing something significant. A defensive stance doesn't merely shield them from external critique. It also acts as armor against inner truths too uncomfortable to face. So how do we approach this behavior through a Stoic lens? Stoicism teaches us to observe without emotional entanglement. When someone reacts defensively, take a step back and seek to understand what's driving that reaction. Is it insecurity, guilt, fear of exposure? Instead of reacting impulsively to their defensiveness, something they may even expect, maintain calmness and patience. Give them space to explain, but remain mindful that their guarded demeanor could be masking dishonesty. Ultimately, a person who is overly defensive has yet to master the Stoic principle of quiet self-assurance. They feel compelled to protect themselves with words, excuses, or aggressive reactions. If they resort to such tactics, chances are they aren't being entirely truthful with you or themselves. As Seneca wisely said, a tranquil conscience never fears accusation. So when you see someone erecting defensive walls, ask yourself, what exactly are they trying so hard to guard? Have you ever been in a conversation where the words sounded convincing, but something just didn't sit right? The speaker might say one thing, yet their body, whether consciously or not, could be broadcasting an entirely different message. In those moments, trust your instincts and pay attention to body language. You see, the body doesn't lie as easily as the mouth does. Even the most skilled liars can't fully conceal their internal turmoil. It's the subtle signs, the nervous fidgeting, the shifting gaze, the involuntary movements that betray the truth. These are the cracks in the facade, and Stoic philosophy encourages us to notice them with a calm and detached mind. For a Stoic, observing the world without being swayed by surface appearances is essential. As Epictetus advised, we must look deeper beyond what people say and how they act. He often warned against the danger of being deceived by smooth words alone, urging us to evaluate the entirety of someone's behavior. When there's a disconnect between body language and spoken words, it's a clear indication that something isn't aligned. It's not just about obvious signals like avoiding eye contact or appearing restless, though these are telling too. Sometimes the body betrays itself in subtler, unconscious ways. Feet pointing toward the door may signal a desire to escape the conversation. Vigorous nodding while speaking might suggest an attempt to convince themselves of the truth of their own claims. These small cues reveal inner conflict, an unease that words alone cannot mask. A Stoic would view this dissonance not as a flaw, to judge harshly, but as a sign that something isn't harmonized with the truth. Stoicism teaches that living in alignment with our true nature, being honest, virtuous, and clear, brings peace and inner coherence. When someone is dishonest, they are out of sync with their authentic self, and this internal struggle inevitably manifests in their body language. That's why Stoics emphasize maintaining composure and observing these signs without judgment. It's not an opportunity to condemn, but a chance to recognize where truth is being distorted. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation where someone's words seem at odds with their physical behavior, trust your intuition. Watch for nervous hand gestures, fleeting glances, or slight turns of the body away from you. These are signs of discomfort, of unresolved inner conflict. And while we may not always uncover the exact truth, these signals bring us closer to understanding it. Additionally, evading direct answers remains another classic hallmark of dishonesty. Have you ever asked someone a straightforward question, only to receive a vague response or an unnecessarily long and irrelevant explanation? If so, you know the frustration it brings. This is a common tactic used by individuals seeking to dodge accountability. They thrive on ambiguity, keeping things unclear to avoid being held responsible. But remember, as the Stoics teach, truth is simple. It doesn't hide in complexity. An honest person has no need to evade questions. They don't hesitate or dance around the topic. Instead, they offer clear, direct answers because their intentions are transparent. From a Stoic perspective, this kind of evasion violates integrity, a sign that the individual isn't acting in alignment with virtue. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, often emphasized the importance of clarity in thought and communication. For him, the pursuit of truth was inseparable from the pursuit of virtue. Avoiding straightforward answers wasn't just dishonest. It was a denial of responsibility and a rejection of the call to live authentically. When someone avoids giving a clear answer, they aren't merely concealing the truth. They're creating confusion, hoping to manipulate the situation to their advantage. The longer they keep things vague, the more control they maintain over the narrative. Their hope is that your frustration will lead you to abandon the quest for clarity altogether. The Stoic approach, however, is to remain calm, patient, and persistent. Instead of letting their vagueness derail the conversation, stand firm and ask again. Show them that you won't be easily distracted by their evasions. According to Stoicism, honesty fears no scrutiny. Truth is simple and stands strong even under examination. So when someone is evasive, there's no reason to feel anger or frustration. Rather, see it as an invitation to observe more closely. What are they hiding? Why can't they give a straight answer? With Stoic detachment, you don't take their behavior personally. You simply notice, stay grounded, and continue seeking the truth. Ultimately, the Stoic path is about living with integrity, aligning our actions with our words, and embracing the simplicity of truth. The next time you encounter someone who dodges questions or gives ambiguous responses, recall the wisdom of the Stoics. Truth is clear, while dishonesty thrives in confusion. Stay calm, exercise patience, and persistently seek clarity. After all, the truth is far simpler than the tangled web of deceit. Have you ever felt like you were dancing to someone else's tune, striving for their approval, only to realize the music stopped long ago? It's a disorienting moment when you recognize that the smiles, nods, and gestures surrounding you aren't as genuine as they seemed. You think you're in sync with those around you, only to discover the rhythm is completely off. It's a hard truth to face and can leave you questioning the real motives behind those outward displays. But here's the key insight. Learning to read between the lines is a crucial skill for building authentic relationships and cultivating inner peace. Understanding the subtle signs that someone may not genuinely like you, despite their friendly exterior, isn't about avoiding shallow connections. It's about empowering yourself to nurture real, meaningful bonds that align with your values. Through the lens of Stoicism, this awareness becomes a tool for fostering tranquility, helping you focus on what truly matters. Let's dive into the art of discerning what lies beneath the surface. This isn't about finding fault. It's about cultivating wisdom and understanding. When you learn to spot the hidden signs of insincerity, you gain the clarity and confidence to navigate relationships effectively. Surround yourself with people who respect and support you, not those who wear masks of politeness while harboring indifference or ill intent. In doing so, you honor both your own authenticity and the deeper connections life has to offer.